I'm Johnny Price in Greenville, South Carolina, and this is another of our Talking Head film analyses, where we're not so much concerned with how good certain movies might be as we are with the ideas that come out of the movies. The two movies that I want to highlight on this special Talking Head film analysis, I haven't seen. One of the strong recommendations that I make is that before someone goes to see a movie, they find out something about it so that they'll have some idea of what they'll be getting themselves into and can decide if in fact that's something that they want to get themselves into. An exception to this guideline, I think, would be when you're dealing with directors whose past work you're already familiar with, and so you know pretty much what to expect. Directors like Scorsese or Spielberg or Eastwood. But most films really do require some reconnaissance. Otherwise, you may find yourself sitting in the theater with celluloid sewage being poured all over you. Now, this is especially important for parents who are serious about exercising their responsibility as the gatekeepers of their children's minds. The two movies that I'm going to mention are rated R, and it'll be obvious momentarily as to why that is. But the question comes up, how many theaters enforce that restriction? Which means that no one under the age of 17 is to be admitted into the theater without being accompanied by a parent or guardian. How many teenagers are simply let loose at the multiplex and they buy a ticket for one movie and then slip into another theater to see another movie? And of course, eventually there is video on demand, Netflix, and DVD sales and rental. The two films that are out currently that are virtually raw sewage are 21 Jump Street and Project X. The former, of course, is a reboot of a TV series from 20 years ago that launched the career of Johnny Depp. And my understanding is that throughout the film there's a rather clever parody of itself. But beyond that, sewage. Starring Channing Tatum and Jonah Hill, not surprisingly, it has raunch, sex, and profanity. But most films like this at least make an effort to infuse their raunch, sex, and profanity with comedy. But in 21 Jump Street, the raunch is the comedy. The sex is the comedy. The profanity is the comedy. It's cheap, lazy, adolescent script writing by adults. And sadly, they're writing it toward adolescents. You're going to find in 21 Jump Street, not surprisingly, a lot of teen partying with a lot of drinking, drugs, pot, and cocaine consumption, all of which is played up as comedy rather than dealing with the serious results of such activity. But then you'll find cops simulating hardcore hardcore sex acts with an arrested drug dealer. The cops walking into a group sex scene. As one critic said, language as filthy as you're likely to hear in any movie. And then a low point perhaps never reached before in a mainstream film. A drug dealer has his penis dismembered, and he tries to pick it up off the ground with his mouth. In John Waters' 1972 film Pink Flamingo, people were, I hope, disgusted when one of the characters, played by one of Waters' ensemble, transvestite divine, with no special effects, picked up a freshly defecated piece of dog manure and ate it. But that was John Waters, and you expected sewage from John Waters films. In fact, it was notable if you didn't get it. Oh, but of course, that was 40 years ago, and now we're so much more sophisticated that we can offer this type of bile to our teenagers. Interestingly, 21 Jump Street was directed by the same couple of gentlemen who gave us 2009, the family-friendly, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, which just goes to show you that you cannot presume. The second film, Project X, which has been out for a number of weeks, has no major actors. But according to the Motion Picture Association of America, Project X is rated R because of crude behavior and sexual content throughout. Nudity, drugs, drinking, pervasive language, reckless behavior, and mayhem. All involving teens. My best suggestion is for any adult who wants to get a heads up for themselves concerning a movie, or to exercise the responsibility that they have over any young people for which they have influence or authority, that you get on the internet and you go to the website Internet Movie Database, imdb.com. Type in the title of the movie that you're interested in, and it will bring you all the information that you will need to know in order to make the decision that you're going to make. Now, some of you may think that I have been unfair to these two films, especially since I haven't seen them. If you have, there's a place to leave comments. Let me know. I'll even go and watch the movies if you think I ought. And then we'll compare notes, and if I'm wrong, then I can be corrected. I'm Johnny Price, and this has been another of our Talking Head Film Analyses.